Hello, my name is Ann, and today I'll be giving you my full experience after using the iOS 12 on the iPad mini 2 and the iPhone 8 Plus. Uh, for over 2 weeks after its release. And I'll be covering everything with iOS 12, including the features, performance, and even battery life. So the reason behind this late upload is just the fact that I have a lot of schoolwork to do, so I can only upload videos on weekends only. But it's not a matter of business, alright? I'm still gonna be doing YouTube videos weekly, so don't worry about that. Either way, let's dive in. Let's talk about the new features first before we dive into the other stuff. In terms of features, iOS 12 with the view to improving performance and battery life, which we'll talk about later, there aren't really a lot that's changed with the look and feel. It still has the regular home screen, as you can see with the 8 Plus or the Mini 2. It doesn't look that drastically different from iOS 11. We still have the same control center, notification center, um, on the 8 Plus. We still have the same control center on the iOS 11, as you can see. Um, so really, there's on a lot that really gonna be for you to go wild about. However, there are still some under the hood changes that is very worth mentioning. The first is obviously on the iPad side of thing, the new gesture system. You can see that you can swipe up to go home, swipe and hold to go multitasking, swipe down from the right gets to control center, very similar to the iPhone 10. Or on the 8 Plus, there aren't a lot, but let me show you a few more. Um, the one thing that I really love with iOS 11 is the group notifications. It just makes everything feel so cleaner. It makes the notification center look so clean in comparison to iOS 11, right? And iOS 11, the notification management system was just crappy, straight out crappy. But with iOS 12, everything is nice and clean. As you can see, you can tap to expand or do some more stuff with it. Um, and with that new gesture system, the iPad certainly feels more fluid and more intuitive compared to iOS 11. And thanks to the new gesture systems, I kind of less rely on the home button more, right? The home button just feels a little clanky to me. With iOS 12, I don't need to use the home button anymore because we now have the gesture systems, which is really handy. Unfortunately, this gesture does not make its way to the iPhone 8 Plus, so that's kind of disappointing here. So, uh, there are some other smaller features. For example, we have screen time, which is to monitor your screen usage time to help you avoid addictions, as well as some new addition to not disturb, like do not disturb during bedtime, or the new stocks app or news app. Most of which I already talked about in my other video about the top 5 new iOS 12 features. If you'd like to see that video, just click on that bubble up there. So, and the others, of course, the rest of the features are mostly for the iPhone 10, like the Memoji, for example. So overall, while there's nothing to go wild about the new looks or new features, I do like most of the smaller tweaks to make the iPad or the iPhone experience way more enjoyable than it is on iOS 11. Alright, let's talk about the star of the show, performance. If I were to describe how my iPad or the iPhone 8 Plus performs for iOS 12, it would be phenomenal. This has got to be the only iOS version I've ever used since the iOS 4, I would say on the iPad 2, whose aims is to improve performance, and the result does speak for itself. Let's take a look at the Geekbench score. This is a Geekbench score that I have, 1289 and 2199. And this is iOS 12 here, and this is iOS 11. iOS 11 got around 1260 and 2162. So a pretty big jump from iOS 11 here, and I really, really appreciate that. And that does translate to everyday usage. Everything just feels so fluid, so smooth, and just makes the iPad, or especially older iPads and iPhones, gives us a new leash of life, you know. And including the iPhone 8 Plus. I mean, the iPhone 8 Plus is the newest device on our iPhone family, but it doesn't mean that it performs faster. It is, a little bit faster in some areas, like launching the cameras or launching the keyboard, for example. It all felt really, really fast. And one thing that has improved with the iOS 12 update has got to be the RAM management. RAM management was a nightmare on iOS 11, and iOS 12 has certainly done some favors to it. There are some of you who still using iOS 10, iOS 9, and if you were to ask me whether I should upgrade to iOS 12 if I'm using the iOS 11, iOS 10, the answer is yes, definitely. iOS 12 is definitely faster than iOS 11, but compared to iOS 10 and iOS 9, it should be performing similarly, maybe even faster in some areas. And so, if you're an iOS 10 or iOS 9 users, updating to iOS 12 shouldn't make any impact on performance. However, it's still not without its flaws, and let me just give you a few of them. The first of all is that animation lags are still bound to happen at some point of a time. Let's say if you go to YouTube and just swipe up and just go a lot of application and you go out like that, the animation will sometimes drop frames. But that's kind of to be expected. The 8 Plus is running impeccably, so I don't have problems with. But with the iPad Mini 2, animation lags are still happening. It is an inevitable, but it is at least better. So and because of that animation drop, I would still recommend you to go to settings and accessibility and accessibility and turn on the reduced motion to turn off the animation or kind of stuff. And so iOS 12 definitely does do a lot of good effect, good favors to the iPads and iPhones, even especially older iPhones running iOS 11. And I have to say that Apple has done a great job in optimizing for iOS 12. So let's talk about the next thing, which is battery life. Now, you might be wondering whether all of these improvements in performance, in speed, will affect the battery life or not. Fortunately, the answer is not. If you take a look at my Geekbench score on battery, it scored 2466, and it lasted 4 hours and 46 minutes on the Geekbench battery test, which is kind of impressive. And in terms of real world usage, it's even better. Let me just give you here. This is the other day that I took a screenshot with my iPad only 6% left. And as you can see, I plugged my device out, plugged my iPad out of on Monday, and it lasted around 4 hours of on-screen time, which is kind of impressive to say. Uh, the next usage is when it also got around 4 hours of on-screen time. Or wait, 7 hours. Yes, 7 hours. It was not 4 hours. It was around 8 hours on-screen time. Excuse me. Okay. Yeah, it ran 8 hours on-screen time, which is about the same as iOS 11, which is actually a good thing. And in terms of other stuff, okay, I talk about my usage a little bit. Okay, talking about my usage, I just watch YouTube videos, play some games, and browsing some social media apps. And with that kind of usage, I got around 8 hours of on-screen time, right? Which is very, very impressive. Other minor stuff like standby time and charging time is still as always, still as impressive in standby time and still as painfully slow as before. So there's no change there. So yeah, I gotta say that Apple for improving our performance like this, but not compromising battery life is also a job well done. So give a big hands there. So let's talk about some of the issues that I encountered by while using iOS 12. So although iOS 12 has fixed a lot of bugs and annoyances from the past iOS versions, it is not entirely perfect, and there are still some issues that I encountered. The first is that if I happen to push this thing to the edge, to the limit, like say I open up YouTube, I open a lot of games, and I just switching all back and forth too quickly, the iPad would tend to crash or even respring, and that's not something that I encountered on iOS 11. Right, on iOS 11, if I happen to push it too much, it's just gonna slow down or something like that. On iOS 12, it's just gonna flat out respring. So that's a bit of an unusual thing here. And secondly, probably the most frustrating thing that I noticed with iOS 12 is the gesture navigation system. It is fluid, it is smooth, but there are two gestures that is very easily mistaken, and that's the swipe up to go home and swipe up and hold to go to the app switcher. Sometimes I just completely want to go home, and it just takes me to multitasking page. That's probably because I swipe up and hold too long, or I just swipe it too gently. You can see I just swipe like this, right? As I'm trying to swipe up here, like this. This goes well, as you can see. But sometimes it just takes me to the app switcher for no reasons, and that's pretty weird. And then of course there are still some hacks and bugs through the iMessage app that could crash your iOS devices. It's still happening, and of course the screen lock bypass and stuff like that. It's still here and there. But overall, the stability of the OS is undoubtedly better than that of iOS 11, and I have to say that it is definitely much, much more stable than iOS 11. So that's what I have to say with iOS 12. Like to put it short, to cut it short, iOS 12 is fantastic. It fixes a lot of really annoying stuff with iOS 11, and it really give the older iPads and older iPhones a new speed boost while not compromising on battery life and stability. And I have to say that Apple has done an incredibly good job in making iOS 12. I mean, I have been using iOS 12 since the first beta came out and have been impressed with it ever since. And so hopefully with iOS 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3, Apple will continue to improve upon it and make iOS 12 an even better operating system for its users and and for Apple itself. Uh, and that's what I have to say here for this video. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, click the like button down below, and also subscribe and click on that bell button to get notified every time a new video goes uploaded. And also comment and share this video to your friends and families and social media sites to get them to know this video. Anyways, thank you and goodbye.